SANEF, together with PanSALB and the United Nations in South Africa, are hosting the inaugural Indigenous Languages and Media Seminar, which is taking place in Johannesburg in Sandton. The seminar will be held under the theme, The Role of Indigenous Languages in the Media and Building Engaged and Informed Communities. Let's now take you live to that conversation.
I would ask my friends who speak those languages, what does this mean? Then that's how it was easy for me to learn, because you need to learn a language from the people who speak it. So let's also encourage our children at school to learn languages, not to pass, but to be able to converse with others. We'll call our next speaker, who's going to deliver the keynote address, Professor Abiodun Salawu from the University of the Northwest, Intersection for Media, Culture and Language, addressing the intricate relationship between indigenous languages and media. He's going to speak to us about what he's been established, what are the challenges, and what has been some of the setbacks of indigenous languages. Prof, it's over to you.
Yeah, sorry. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. All protocols observed. I must say that I'm really glad to be here, and I'm particularly elated that this kind of gathering is happening, particularly as it relates to indigenous language media, specifically African language media, because this is a sector of the media in Africa that has been neglected for a long time. And of course, speakers who have spoken before me have already emphasized this, about the challenges that we face, in the sense that our people are no longer interested in our languages again, particularly our youths. We are only interested in learning the colonial languages because they are the languages of power. They are the languages of progress. I can imagine that if you cannot speak English in a country like this, I can imagine where you are going to be. You'll be nowhere. That is the power of the colonial language that was imposed on us. And for that reason, we have no regard for our language. But to be sincere, the media is one of the important domains that can continue to speak live into our languages. I listened to the UN man, emphasizing the importance of education and all that. Yes, education, will help a lot if we use our languages, for educational purposes, for instructional purposes and all that. It will also help, if we make our languages alive, if we keep them alive in our media, in the broadcast media, in the print media, and even in the digital media, social media that we have today. And of course, even in the judiciary, if we are able to use our languages very well in those domains. And that is what has been lacking. I appreciate this because this is probably the first time I will be seeing this kind of thing happening, where we have the various stakeholders coming together to come and deliberate on the matter of indigenous language media. I'm a professor of journalism, communication, and media studies, but I observed over the years that hardly do people even research indigenous language media. And when we do our teaching in the universities, we really do not even teach about indigenous language media. The focus of our teaching has always been on the colonial language media. If it is in Anglophone Africa, it will be about the media in English. If it is Francophone Africa, it will be about the media in French. And if it is in Lusophone African, it will be about the media in Portuguese. That has been. Yeah, but this is a crusade that I started on my own way back when I was studying for my master's degree. I chose to study indigenous language media. And I took that even up to my PhD. And that is what has preoccupied my research enterprise since then. If you ask anybody about Abiodun Salawu, what they will tell you about me is indigenous language media. That is what I do. If you Google my name now, that is what you are going to find. Because I'm so passionate about it, that the media that use our languages should not be neglected, as they are already experiencing neglect now. And that was what also informed the establishment of a research entity in our university, Indigenous Language Media in Africa, at Northwest University. I'm the director of the entity. And I want to appreciate, the organizers of this program for inviting me to give this keynote, because to me, it is an acknowledgement of what we are doing, the little contribution we are making to the development of African language media. This entity started in 2016, and we have been doing a lot of research on African language media. We train masters, PhD students in African language media and communication. That is what we do essentially. We have produced a number of journal articles, a number of books. This is one of the books produced from our entity. I co-edited it with a colleague in Uganda. And the title is Indigenous Language Media, Language Politics and Democracy in Africa. So some of the things that I will be talking about today will revolve around the issue of African indigenous language media participation and democracy in Africa. I'm going to leave this copy to SANEF, just as my contribution to their library before I leave here. And I will also like to share some copies of our brochure, the brochure of our research entity. Don't know who to hand this over to. Okay. Yeah, so these are just some copies of the brochure of our entity, for us to, for us to know what we do in the entity. Okay. Yeah. I will start by saying that the beginning of African language press is usually associated with Christian missionary activities. Okay, because the Christian missionary activities, started what we know today as African language press. Okay, and they did this for their evangelical activities. Bless you. Yeah, they did this for their evangelical activities, for them to be able to propagate the Christian faith. Okay, because they knew that the only way they could effectively diffuse the beliefs and tenets of their religions among the natives was to communicate with them in their languages. That is the only way that communication can be effective, when you communicate with people in the language that they understand, the language that is inherent.
We come out of that important conversation that is currently underway around the use of indigenous languages, and also how do we promote that